We're live.
Hello, everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled to be here with one of my favorite people and X-Men on the planet, Mr. Enzo. I guess you're over there. Whatever. Um, and thank you all for being on today. Like, if you're listening live to us or if you're listening because you found it later, um, I had a whole funny thing that occurred yesterday with the one we did on time. So these talks, I've invited some of my favorite and brilliant X-Men onto these different lives just to really talk about what X-Men is, what it's contributed to our lives, how the tools have assisted us, um, and what it just really what it looks like. So thank you, Enzo, for saying yes.
Thank
And
you.
I think, God, have I known you for like what, 3, 4 years now?
Yeah. Like it was so funny because like 4 years ago was when I came to Access, and right off the bat I just went towards like X-Men, and I found your classes, and I was like, oh my god, this is like what I've been always looking for, you know. And I first thank you for inviting me. I always love talking to you, and especially when you know we can contribute to people having more of them. It's like so fucking beautiful. How cool is it that we get to do this, you
To-
know?
Totally.
And yeah, like the X-Men body of work really like shifted my life in so many ways. Me and Carol were talking before we came here, and we were talking about this thing of like how different we can be, and like
Mhm.
how simplistic that phrase can look, and like the difference of you, like how cliche it can sound, but actually like it's like the key to you having a happy life instead of being like faced by this like unsurmountable amount of like shit and like loudness.
Totally. It's literally the key to your kingdom.
Yeah.
And, I always talk about like one of my favorite parts about doing these X-Men classes is meeting people like Enzo and all the different X-Men I've met. I've never met two X-Men that are the same, like never. And when I say the same, I mean like literally how they're wired, how they see the world, how things, make sense to them. Like what their experience is. And like before we jumped on here, Enzo mentioned we were talking about some things he's got going for his future, and really like looking at like how would you choose it if you were choosing really from the difference that you are like, and like he said, that seems like such a simplistic statement, but so many people here think they have to do things from how other people have done it. Like there's
Mhm.
only one way to do something, or there's only 10 ways to do something. I mean, there's always this threshold you meet or you get to where it's like, oh, well, there's this many variations. We can't have any more variations, which for X-Men just isn't true. And so at any point when you adhere to ABC, 1, 2, 3, you as an X-Men are having to cut off parts and pieces of what you could choose, who you could be, like how you could do things, what you could contribute here. You have to cut those things off because you will never be an ABC. You will never be a 1, 2, 3. And for me, like personally, that like when I really found the tools of X-Men specifically, when I really started to go, wow, like I do not have a clue. Like I've never really truly acknowledged how different I am. And the other thing that we do is we think we know, okay, so okay, yeah, I'm different. But then we assume everyone else can do the same stuff we can do.
Right.
Not so. Not
It's so funny. It's like, to me, it was really like paramount the realization of like, because I thought that because I am an X-Men, I was equal to all the other X-Men's, or at least like a part and parcel was like the same, but
no,
it's not. It's like not at all, you
not
know?
at all. The only thing we have in common is that we have nothing in common.
Right.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
trying to pretend that like, oh, like, and what I mean, you come by it naturally in the sense that that's what we're taught to do here. Like, when have you ever been encouraged to just be like as weird as you are, to like go off and choose things in a way that works for you, but maybe never has existed here? Like, you just that's not at all what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to come here, and there's like, depending on where you live in the world and what country you're in and what family group you're in and what culture you're in and what you think you may want to do with your life, then it's like you go, oh my God, I'd love to do this. And then everything that rushes in is like, well, if you want to do that, you got to go here and here and here and here and here. And if you're anyone who has experience, and like, for me, like I always call that stuff like boner killer. It's like to an X-Men, it's like, oh shit, I gotta like this was so exciting. And it was like, yay. And then, oh God, but I've got to do this and I've got to do that. Like how often, like, and I look at my own life, like how often I have like not actually chosen things that I probably would have really loved because I didn't want to do it like how you're supposed to do it.
Mhm.
And can I talk about like what you're
Of course,
choosing?
yes. Mhm.
So when
Yeah.
I first met Enzo, he was in medical school. And you were just like, I love it because you were just putting your foot into like your toe into how different you really are. And knowing you over these last 4 years, like you really have just blossomed into this different being, and you went away from the medical school thing, and I was like, cool. Like, and like, how often do we ever give ourselves permission to like fucking change our minds? Like, okay,
Mhm.
cool. Like, that's not what you're going to go do. But now you're getting a different sense and you're actually choosing to re-embark on that journey of medical school and like whatever that looks like. But it's from such a different place now.
Right.
So
Right.
exciting.
And like that totally like combines with the energy of being different because it's so what you said. Like I actually met exes in my second year of school, and I was like just discovering the whole like medicine stuff, but also like you said, like how different I was, and
Yeah.
so many things didn't make sense. Like like in class, I would question things that the teacher would do, and I was like, "Why the fuck are you doing that? You can do it in this whole different way that totally includes more the person and their body, you know?" And the teacher would go like, "That's not how we do it here," and I would be like so fucking pissed. And like by the time that I chose to not go anymore, I was like bored. I think I just didn't have a like as much as I needed to have going on to like keep myself entertained. And now I'm
And
like,
you're continuously like trying to be, it's like X-Men do not want to be corralled. Stop
right.
trying to corral me.
Yeah,
Well, a lot of
totally.
us do that. Like, fuck off, I'm out of here. Like, there's so many X-Men. Like, that might be like an actual indicator. Like, if you don't
Yeah,
know if this body of work applies to you in your life, like, how many things have you been excited about? And then when you were given this information of, well, if that's what you want to achieve, this is the route you have to go, and you just were like, fuck that, I'm done. I'll go do something else. You may be an X-Men if that
yeah.
if that's happened in your life like more than one time, you might be
Totally. And if you're watching us until this point, chances are that there's something here for you. So
totally. Yeah.
yeah, and like one of the things that was like frustrating that I made peace with was like I knew so much more was possible. So I could perceive the entities with the person that were causing like the disease or like the capacities that the person had that weren't acknowledged and that created a lot of fuck up in their world. It was like it would be so easy to deal with this in like a direct, pragmatic way, like addressing what is, but instead like needing to go through I thought I had the presumption that I needed to go through the path that everyone did.
Yeah.
So that made me so fucking frustrated. And then I
Yeah.
was like, what if I could actually like break the rules, but in an intelligent way so that no one sees that I'm breaking the rules?
Yeah. Or create something like create something completely different. Like one of the
Right.
things I talk about all the time in the X-Men classes is like each one of us, especially those of us who are we like X-Men, we're wired differently. We have all these wacky capacities and talents. And it's like we're here to actually bring in something that doesn't exist yet. So this
Mhm.
idea of being willing to be the difference that we are, like you are going to be a rule breaker. You are going to be someone who doesn't match up to the norm. You are going to be someone who asks a question that no one wants to ask. Like that's the thing that I'm always the annoying one in the room that says out my mouth what no one No one want I call it autistic Tourette's.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I will blurt out the thing that everybody in the room is trying to like squash or hide. I will say it. And I didn't even know I was doing that until I did. And like that is a lot of times X-Men in the world. We're challenging the norms, you know, because it's like because it's boring. We're over it. Like so it's always exciting to me to hear that you're actually embarking into that direction again. Like, how did we all get so lucky and how did all the bodies get so lucky?
Wow.
You
Thank
know,
thank
you will
you.
be a trailblazer, my friend. I know that. I know that much. And it's one of the things that I love about the X-Men body of work and like the access tools, even the most basic access tools, you know, the like you brought up a couple of the things where areas where you have an awareness of something that no one else may know.
Wow.
And you know, it's like that was so apparent to me when I found the X-Men body of work of all the areas where I had been aware of things that no one else was willing to be aware of or even could be aware of.
Right.
And if you're not willing to actually acknowledge that, you can't actually like be it or develop it or grow it or choose it even. So,
Right. And like, how fucking easy is it to like disavow what you know? Because like, if you're watching us not in the future, like how many awarenesses that you have are not verbal and they're just like energies, and
yeah,
you're like, what the fuck is that? You know, like how many energetic awarenesses that we have that are like way more than 90%. Like, so the question like, is most of the awareness that you have like verbal or like just energetic?
energetic.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Huge. Like, what am I perceiving? Which is one of the basic X-Men tools. I mean, like, oh, wait, I could be perceiving something and like not have words for it, have no one else in the room be perceiving that thing and still have it for my own awareness.
Totally.
Like that, like that seems again so basic. And yet having that be part of your life opens you up to so much more, opens you up to being able to choose like from what you can choose as a weirdo, unique X-Men that no one else can choose. And that's what actually like I think for a lot of X-Men, that is what excites us. Doesn't really matter what we're choosing. It's that we are choosing it.
Totally.
One of my favorite quotes, Gary Douglas, you know, Gary Douglas and Dane here are the ones that originally came up with this body of work that we call X-Men. And it's really dealing with where people are energetically different, neurodivergent, you know, people that have been diagnosed with things from mental illness to autism to, you know, dyslexia to ADHD, you know, all of these things. And I mean, at this point, they call it a spectrum and there's a million different points on the spectrum. I mean, there's more definition now than there used to be. And like one of the things that Gary said that I still love to this day is autism is the question that no one else is willing to be. And
Mm.
if you look at the difference you are and you just simply start to give yourself permission to ask a question or to be the energy of a question without turning it down or making yourself wrong for being the only one to be like, what's going on? What is what's happening? Like so much of my life, I would be like, what's going on? You
Yeah.
know, and you look around, and it's like, no, you don't even see that anybody is, you're the only one that's aware of it.
Yeah.
And so many of us who have this wiring that's odd and bizarre, like we are naturally here to question more into possibility, you
Yeah.
know?
You know what really set me free was like realizing that as an X-Men, like asking a question also doesn't need to be verbal. Like how many questions are you being that are just like energy?
It's just a willingness to be like,
Yeah.
it's not just because everyone thinks it is, doesn't mean it is.
Uh-huh.
And like not just being okay with that, but like acknowledging it and developing it and being like strong with that, like, no, like there can be more ways. And I mean, where things are in the world today, like we require like the X-Men to know who they are. And like this sounds weird, but to know they exist. Because
Yeah.
so many of us have that capacity to disappear into other people's worlds and other people's realities and not even realize we've done it. If you were to know you exist, to know that you know something no one else knows,
Yeah.
and to be the energy, like you said, of a question of what is that? What could I create that I've never even friggin' considered? That that's
Yeah.
what this world needs.
Totally. And like, I don't even know if I ever mentioned this to you, but like one thing that Kara used to mention a lot in her classes was like the crazy phrase tool, like everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. And like what gave me also so much freedom in the like X-Men capacity world was realizing that to me, like I could choose for what things were actually and not for what they look like.
Oh,
I don't know if that makes sense, but like once I got like that I didn't need to choose for my life to look a certain way, but actually like to like have a certain energetic quality to it. From that and that, like I think that spark of awareness came during an X-Men class, and I was like, "Holy fuck! I can actually like this is what actually works for me." Because we were talking about like when you realize like, oh, I can have a future doing X, Y, and Z, and then you like hear all the people's heads around you saying like, oh, this is the correct way to go. What if it's not applicable to you? Like,
yeah.
what if nothing actually applies to you?
Nothing's yeah, like, nothing is relevant to you. Like, how others have done it is not the vital element. It's like, how would you like to do it? And it's a very simple and very complex choice here because no one allows you to have that. And for me, the X-Men body of work is like, I'm going to say permission, but it's like it is that door opening to having what you know is true in an extreme way. So,
Totally.
does it get better than this?
That's so fucking cool.
It is
And
so
I love how fucking fast we are because we said everything we needed to say in like 17 minutes.
totally, totally. And I mean, and it Enzo said, as Enzo said, if you've watched this whole thing, like what would your life look like if you were willing to have more tools, more things you can dive into daily that allow you to build these muscles, build these energetic muscles to choose something different, and to really like break out of the things that you thought were the way you were supposed to do them, and just really be the difference that you are.
Yeah. And like just to wrap it up, like one thing that I got from this body of work that totally shifted my life too was like, and this totally matches with what we are here talking about today, like how different are you? Because like how many of you think that the access tools are like broken when you use them or are broken for you? And every X-Men class I go to Kara, like, Kara, I don't think I know how to expand out. Can you help me? Like, I think my light and heavy is broken, Kara. And, but what if,
True.
yeah,
True.
what if it's actually different from you than from the person that taught you about the tool?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Oh my gosh, so true. Yeah, the tools are there for you, and like I love that you brought that up because that has always been my experience. And you keep it under wraps because you don't want anyone to know that the tools don't work for you. Like, I'm gonna pretend I can do this tool. But again, that's where you get to explore even more of like, okay, what is this tool for me? Like, how do I perceive it? How do I, like, what do I know? What is
Yeah,
it? What awareness does it gift me? So,
yeah. And
yeah.
like, yeah, and like how much are we already embodying a lot of that? And it doesn't
Mhm.
feel like anything because we're being it. So You know,
Absolutely.
don't come get more tools with Kara. You'll be very disappointed.
Oh, and I mean, and they're like, and one of the things that's so thrilling to me is that there's a lot of Xmen facilitators now. Like COVID, I don't know what was about COVID, but I think we were all just kind of like, we just like Xmen popped up all over the place. So find the tools of Xmen, see if they create what they have created for Enzo and I. And yeah, how does it get better
Totally.
than this? Enzo, thank you
100%.
so much for
Thank
coming on.
you.
It was so
Thank
much
you.
fun. And thank you everyone for listening. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Bye.